the argument then is to say that the program's argument is to say that they're seeding clouds with these heavy metals. I mean, what is the science behind or the logic, let's say, behind that science?
That's a great question because it's very confusing to people. First, the semantics are very important. If people want to gain traction with this issue, it's imperative they use the science terms: climate engineering or solar radiation management, geoengineering or stratospheric aerosol geoengineering. So those terms lead to hard science. The chemtrails term, by design, leads to conspiracy theory and hoax. So semantics are important, and it's important also that people understand this is not about cloud seeding for rain, not at all. Solar radiation management, the express purpose is to block a percentage of the sun's incoming thermal energy with light scattering reflective particulates, i.e. aluminum. So the goal is to block the sun, but this has horrific effects on the hydrological cycle. Of course, it's toxic. It shreds the ozone layer. Again, we're seeing ozone readings now, and we're metering this, we're not guessing. We're seeing UVB levels that are in some cases 1,000% higher than what we're being told. So people need to think for themselves. The sun feels hot on your skin because it is. It's at very dangerous levels. Again, they're not disclosing this, and people need, this issue is of immense gravity from too many directions to go into. So that's why I focused all my energy on this, because I feel, based on available data, if we don't stop the climate engineering, the planet's not going to have much left of its life support systems very soon.
Mm-hmm. So you've mentioned there might be a correlation between the rise in autism and ADD and other of these illnesses. What about, for example, the respiratory illnesses that are going around? There's a lot of people that have been sick with not MERS, but other kinds of respiratory systems, especially, for example, this year. Could that be a byproduct of what's being sprayed through geoengineering?
I would answer much more definitively, Sean. There is absolutely, positively no question there's a connection. Again, obviously there's other causes as well, but when we know beyond any reasonable doubt that this material is raining down on us, we know it's in the breathable air column because we're lab testing for it, and we know the effects. The human organism doesn't respond well to these metals at all, and this is absolutely indisputable, peer-reviewed fact. So there's no question there's a connection. And when we see in the case of autism a 10,000% increase since 1975, then that should be raising a lot of red flags for a lot of people. And these programs have gone on, we know, since the late 40s. So when we have geoengineers stating on the record, and this is on film and on the record, the world's most recognized geoengineer, David Keith, stating their goal of dumping 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticulates in the atmosphere annually, that is mathematically the greatest source of this kind of contamination, greater than all other sources combined. So there's no question there's a connection to all the respiratory issues, the asthma issues, Alzheimer's, autism. Again, I'm not saying this is the only cause, of course not, but mathematically speaking, it's the greatest cause, period.
Wow. So basically our government is poisoning us. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and we can all speculate as to intent, motive. That's things that can be debated by people, but the bottom line is it's happening. We have studies from the U.S. Air Force on the effect of this type of nanoparticulate pollution from the late 90s. They absolutely know how lethal it is. How could they not know? And yet we have this going on. And the mentality, Sean, and this is again on film and on the record from geoengineers like David Keith from Harvard, they believe this is a risk-to-risk scenario, the risk of doing it versus the risk of not doing it. So the goal, one of the stated goals anyway, is to slow down a runaway greenhouse effect, to deflect some of the sun's incoming thermal energy. But what these scientists don't take into account is that the negative effects of these programs far outweigh any perceived benefit when it's, again, destroying the Earth's natural protection with the ozone layer. It's trapping as much or more heat than it deflects. It's destroying the hydrological cycle, the rain cycle, contaminating everything. This is the typical pharmaceutical approach, corporate military industrial complex mentality. Just like we see on TV, if you take this drug for this ailment, by the way, there's 20 other huge side effects you'll have and it may kill you. And the next commercial sometimes is an attorney's group saying, if you took this, then call us. And it's the same sort of mentality. A lot of money's being made, a lot of power is being exercised over populations, and they're not about to give that up no matter how much damage it does.